Veterans, you probably have no clue that this happened, but in 2025, Congress quietly rewrote multiple pieces of legislation that changed the playbook for VA transition and benefits. The crazy part is some of these changes already started rolling out. These aren't someday things. These are changes that have already hit their effective dates and are changing veterans' lives as we speak. So there was no big headlines, no viral stories, and I haven't seen a single veteran influencer really talk about these in depth, but I'm here to do just that. This is the thing that shut down the government. These laws, policies, and rules can affect your mortgage, your money, your benefits, and of course, your family. Today we're going to walk through what actually changed. If you fell behind on your mortgage during COVID, there's actually something there to help you get back on track, how it can affect you, and what you need to know in advance. Fiduciaries commit fraud. And if you think this doesn't apply to you, I'm going to start with the part that affects every vet first. You're missing out on benefits, your money. So much to your surprise, the first thing I'm going to talk about is actually a positive, and this should excite you. You will be making more money in 2026, and you'll be making more money faster in the future. How? Well, as of December 1st, 2025, the VA compensation or Veterans Disability Compensation is now tied to Social Security's COLA. What's the difference? It used to be that VA compensation was all tied to the Congressional Omnibus Bill, as we all know, the spending bill. Things that we don't really care about, missile defense systems for countries we don't really like. Did I say that out loud? Anyway, in other great news for our nation's warriors who have gone above and beyond the call of duty and earned the Medal of Honor, the Medal of Honor Act, which was passed December 1st, 2025, now ties Medal of Honor recipient compensation to the VA rating table, which means it increases with COLA and over time instead of keeping it at a stale number, which it had been throughout history to date. Next, this bill, which is too long for me to remember off the top of my head, the Fairness for Service Members and Their Families Act of 2025, was approved December 12th, 2025. Now what this does in reality is it forces a periodic review of SGLI and VGLI on a periodic basis. Why is this a big deal? Well, because if someone got killed in action in 2000, right, $400,000 might have been enough to set that family up for life to where the spouse didn't have to work, they could go to therapy, they could get the help that they needed, and of course, all the supporting systems around them would hopefully help as well. But as we now know, in 2025, $400,000 or a dollar in general just does not go as far. And in the future, we can only anticipate that that's probably going to get worse. Inflation's a thing. So, ensuring that soldiers, airmen, Marines, anybody who's going overseas and facing danger for our country, ensuring that they have the insurance coverage needed to make sure that their family is set if something unfortunate should happen is a major win for all service members. And I should clarify, SGLI and VGLI don't just apply to overseas deployments, they cover training accidents as well. Now the next one is also a law that's too long for me to remember off the top of my head, and that is the Montgomery GI Bill Selected Reserves Tuition Fairness Act of 2025. Goodness. That was approved December 12th of 2025, and it makes the changes effective upon the enactment of it. This really becomes effective for academic periods beginning on or after August 1st, 2026, meaning this shows up for most people starting in 2026, 2027. Here's the part that nobody else is talking about. These next laws can determine what happens when you fall behind on your VA mortgage and whether or not you keep your house. This segment is all about foreclosure protections that you've never heard of. This is the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act, otherwise called Public Law 119-31. Now this was approved July 31st, 2025, and what it does is it creates a VA partial claim program. Now, what is a VA partial claim? We're not talking about disability benefits here, we're talking about the VA Home Loan Program, right? It means that the VA can purchase a chunk of the debt to prevent foreclosure. So maybe you're behind X amount, they can purchase a part of the debt, decrease the payment, allow you to make payments forward, and event total foreclosure, meaning you still get to keep the place where you're living, where your kids are living, anything and everything like that. Now, normally this is capped at 25% of the unpaid principal. But if you missed a payment or fell behind between March 1, 2020 through May 1, 2025, this can go up to 30% of the unpaid principal. Meaning, if you fell behind on your mortgage during COVID, there's actually something there to help you get back on track. So, why can't you sleep on this law? Why is it a big deal? And what is the ultimate outcome, right? Well, this law also lets the VA issue administrative guidance. Fancy words, right? But for certain defaulted loans, even before the full regulations take place, the VA can't make partial claims forever. The authority stops 5 years after enactment, right? So this law was passed July 30, 2025. That means you have until July 30th, 2030 to make this claim, right? And if that happened, if you fell behind between March 1, 2020 and May 1, 2025, you have a valid claim for up to 5 years after the enactment of the law. That was a mouthful. But in essence, this is a critical player and a critical piece to how you can avoid foreclosure if you fell behind on your mortgage. Shit happens, I get it. Don't be left in the dark and understand the benefits that are available to you. And furthermore, there's a lot of news going around, especially in the financial circles, that lenders aren't going to talk to you about this, right? In this market, a lender's going to be excited to take that home back and foreclose on it. So they're probably not going to volunteer this information. You need to ask them about VA mitigation and VA help to avoid foreclosure. Now, if you think that the financial stuff was the worst of it, wait until you hear what was happening with the fiduciaries and stolen benefits. Over 3,100 fiduciary fraud cases were reported last year. 3,100 fiduciary fraud cases. Some veterans lost everything. Veterans, what I'm talking about is the Veteran Fraud Reimbursement Act of 2025, otherwise known as Public Law 119-56, if for some reason you wanted to know that. This was approved December 12, 2025, and what it really does is it states, hey, if you had a fiduciary and they misused your funds, we're going to ensure that those funds are back paid to you in the total amount or your successor fiduciary. And when I say fiduciary, I want you to understand that fiduciaries commit fraud, right? It's not always a golden answer to say, well, I'm going to appoint a fiduciary to help me with my funds in retirement or because I'm going through treatment or what have you, right? This law helps protect veterans, oftentimes our most vulnerable veterans, those in memory care, those aging, those who for whatever reason need a fiduciary, right? And in that case, this makes sure that they are made whole. It also covers and adds a provision for if the veteran dies before that back payment happens. So the family is made whole, even in arrears, or posthumously, if you will. All right, now on the transition side of things, veterans, the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2026 was signed as of December 18th, 2025. Yes, this is the thing that congressmen back and forth threw things into. This is the thing that shut down the government, and it is a mess. But what did come out of it, right? Well, the transition is no longer an option language, came directly from DoD directives, and it was signed off in this bill. The effect of which, it's so hard to tell, right? Because they can put it into policy all day long, but until the contractors and the organizations that they actually use for these TAPs and transition services are updated and held to a higher standard, well, I don't see much changing. And even if you had the world's best providers for TAP services, right? This ultimately falls down to chain of commands as well. Are they letting their people engage in the proper TAPS activities, or are they telling them, hey, you've got 3 days until you ETS, now you go do this thing, right? And I can tell you, when I was in the 82nd, well, it was cool. You've got 3 days till ETS. Go to the Soldier Support Center and go sit through these 3 days of classes or interactions that you may have. In which case, you're 3 days from being spit out of the Army with little to no money, in most cases, no resources, often no idea what you're doing next, and depending on your life and your situation, little to no support. I'm hopeful that this law does improve the TAPS outcomes, that it does improve the TAPS process, and ultimately at the end of the day, regardless of how much they improve the process or what your chain of command tries to do, you really have to advocate for yourself, right? You need to make sure that you're getting that financial and that debt counseling. You need to make sure that you're getting the pre-VA prep stops, right? What does that mean? You're getting your physical before you get out, you're getting checked off, right? You're sending in a master problems list if you've been in long enough for such a thing. Ultimately, you need to have that done, right? And the chain of command might be adversarial to it, because why do they want you to succeed? You're no longer part of the machine. And unfortunately, when you're no longer part of the machine, what we see is service members get spit out, regardless of what rank, what branch, if they're special forces, or if they're a regular grunt, or if they were admin. That happens. So advocate for yourself, and let's hope for all our brothers and sisters that are still serving this great nation that the TAPS process does actually improve thanks to this law. Now, here's the rock solid truth. If your claim isn't right, if your rating isn't accurate, if you're not telling the VA raters your whole story through the narrative of your claim, you're missing out on benefits, and I can't make it any simpler than that. Now, these laws are real, and they will have big impacts, some of them astronomical, but not a single one of them matters if your rating is 10%, if you're not taking care of the things you need to take care of, if you're not getting the benefits that you actually deserve from service that you've already earned, none of it matters. Are you even accessing the VA home loan properly with a 10% rating? Not as much as you could be. Are you still paying the fees? Are you still paying property taxes? There's so many things that could be helped by getting the rating that you deserve, and it can't be overlooked as a core fundamental of succeeding in the transition world. Now, COLA only helps if you're rated. COLA on 10%, yeah, it goes up 3%, cool. That's great. COLA on 60%, 80%, 100%, well, that's a significant income. That's like getting a pay raise at your job. The education protections only help if you have the eligibility to use them. And I found out a crazy fact the other day. Out of the millions of veterans, right? Millions of veterans that exist, right? There's roughly 6 million that are within the VA system or getting some sort of VA rating. But there is 1 million, only 1 million veterans are using Chapter 31. Now that to me is incredibly bothersome and saddening. Why, you might ask? You might not even know what Chapter 31 is, but it's vocational rehab, right? And vocational rehab is the VA's black card for education. You want to go swipey swipe on Uncle Sam's dime and go get your PhD? What if I told you you can do it without student debt? And even better, what if I told you you can do it while getting paid BAH rates as an E5 with dependents for the school zip code, right? That is insane. And it doesn't end. The GI Bill is limited in a certain number of months and credits that you can go get, but Chapter 31 isn't. It's based upon a plan. But you have to have the proper disability rating to access it. And you have to be willing to advocate for yourself. It's bothersome to me that so few veterans are using it, and we here at Vetclaims.ai are going to build something to help enable that access and increase the amount of veterans using Chapter 31. That was long-winded, but it's passionate. For me, I care, and I want to see each and every one of you winning and getting to the point in life where you can take bets on yourself. It's why I built this company. It's why I do what I do. And trust me, I cheated my way through college algebra. I'm sorry, Mrs. Winters. But if I can do it, so can you. You can build whatever you want. You can take that dream. You can take that bet on yourself, right? If it's starting a side hustle, if it's starting a business, it doesn't have to be a big business. It doesn't have to involve venture capital. If you just want to go to school and learn a different job and do something that you actually find fulfilling, right? If you want to make more money to take better care of your family and take the people you love to cooler places and do better things, it's not as complicated as it seems. And we're here to break that down for you and help you get on the path. It's not just about claims. That's merely the beginning. So that big tangent aside, these laws, they build a better floor, but they don't lift you up automatically. You have to do that. You have to advocate for yourself. And we're here to help you learn the pathways to do so. So if you've been stuck, don't guess, reach out. We're literally here for you. I built this company not just to make money, but to help veterans get the rating they deserve and get to a place in life where they can take bets on themselves. Everything you hear me say comes from the heart, and I'm here for you, each and every single one of you. So to learn more about VA claims, about VA benefits, about veteran news, about how you can take bets on yourself and build the life that you dream of having, follow us here at Vetclaims.ai. We dropped a link at the top of the description below. You can check it out.